This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Ping.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
Welcome to Life Mastery Radio with Todd Allen and Jackie Bailey, the show that dives into the science of higher consciousness with inspiring topics such as abundance, intention, health, manifestation, love, and transformation. Join Todd, Jackie, and their guests of leading authors, speakers, coaches, and entrepreneurs weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific. Learn to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery. It's all right here with stories and messages to support your well-being and most evocative dreams. Now, here's your hosts, Todd and Jackie.
Hey, it's another groovy day, and most of you know, but I'm going to tell you anyway, that's because that's the way I make it. I get up in the morning before my feet hit the ground. I already decide it's going to be a groovy day. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, it turns out to be the grooviest. But things might change, something might happen. I always think back. I started out groovy, and we can make this groovy, whatever I have to do, and keep right on cruising. And that's the way it works. Works for me. You should try it. Some of you probably already do if you've listened to this show long enough. And it's groovy because I get to hang out with my good friend Jackie, and Jackie and I bring on some really cool people on the cutting edge of thoughts and ideas that will help you in your own becoming. Yeah, can you imagine that? As always, my co-host is here, Jackie Bailey. Hi, Jackie.
Hello. Hi. I'm great. And surprisingly, I can talk today.
You can talk today because you did what yesterday?
I was on a global summit that was being broadcast live from Poland near the Ukrainian border. It was called the Family Matters Mega Summit, led by Dr. Ali Lankarani. And he was there in Poland, went to check out the refugee camps and see how we can support families. It was in conjunction with the UN National Day of Families. And This is really cool. You know what he found there? He didn't find any refugee camps. You know why? Because the people of Poland have been opening their homes.
Yeah.
There are no people living outside in tents.
Yeah.
They have all been taken inside homes of the people of Poland. And he was just beside himself with delight to find that out. And so 15 of my students and mentees, young people, were speakers on the summit yesterday, and they gave amazing messages regarding their experiences in families and what makes families stronger. And we even had one of my students from Nigeria. His name is Samuel. And his father left the family a year ago because his parents got into an argument. He hasn't seen his father in a year. And he talked about how you make a family fall apart, but then how you survive with what you have left. And he's only 11 years old.
Wow.
And so full of wisdom. And all of the messages were just as inspiring as Samuel's. And it was amazing to watch my proteges be able to do this and get their voices out there on this global summit. It was exciting. It's an exciting day.
And you did something like 16 interviews. So did you interview each one of them after their presentations, or?
I actually did not. The whole summit was set up as an interview style. So when you got to speak, it wasn't a speech, it was an interview about a particular subject you wanted to talk about. And Dr. Lankarani and I have done a lot of collaborative programs in the past. And so yesterday I was one of his hosts in the interview. So I interviewed about 16 people myself on the summit. He had 100 speakers, and some of them were my youth speakers. In fact, one of them was a young girl who's 10, and her parents didn't want her real name used. So we designed this faux name, and I had the hardest time not calling her by her actual name as I interviewed her yesterday. But it was fun. It was delightful. And like I said, I use my voice all day, and I'm so very surprised that I can talk today, but all good. I know. It was
we
great.
are grateful for that. And so you have these students. Where do these students find you again?
Well, all over. They find me, or I find them. I send out a lot of information onto Facebook and other social media sites, and I hang out in a lot of homeschool association groups on Facebook and social media. So when I post things about the summit, or I post things about our classes, I get some response. And so I have found some students through the homeschool community.
I was opening the door for the Speak Feed lead.
Oh, I see what you are setting me up, and I didn't take the bait, did I? Yes, we are the Speak Feed Lead Project. You can find us at speakfeedlead.org. And if you are inclined at all to sponsor one of these speakers, we've got another summit coming up in June that is for just young men and men. It's a Father's Day tribute, essentially.
Oh, wow.
And so we're looking for young men speakers that will speak on this summit. And then we've got a Voices of Color summit that will be in the fall. And then we're going to be doing our own summit in the fall as well. So we would love your sponsorship and support for these speakers. And then we're working on a compilation book where we're taking their transcripts of their summit messages, and we're putting them, making a chapter for our compilation book. So lots of things going on.
You're
we could
busy.
Always use your support.
You're busy.
Busy.
Speakfeedlead.org. Go check it out. And if you want to connect with Jackie and her program, she also coaches speakers. So if you have a speech coming up or you just want to improve yourself, connect with Jackie, because she'll help you get there. And she'll help.
I'm coaching a silver medalist in the 2008 Olympics who wants to be a professional speaker. So I'm working with him right now. I don't know if I'm at liberty to say his name, but it's really cool that he's going to get his wonderful message out to the world as well.
Right on. Yeah. Find Jackie at speakfeedlead.org. I want to remind today's listeners that today's show page is at www.lifemasteryradio.net. You can go there. Any links that we talk about, we have links to our guest today, a phenomenal guest. High energy guests. If you want to get pumped up, you don't need coffee today. Just listen to the Life Mastery Radio today and you're going to get cranked. No. While you're on the website, you can check out both of our books. Jackie has a book. I have a book, and the links are right there. Where's Jackie's book? Jackie's standing.
There it is.
We did that show last week about stop sitting, and she's standing. And
I'm still standing. I thought about standing all day during the summit yesterday, but then I thought better of it.
While you're on the website, you can sign up for the newsletter. Jackie creates a newsletter every week, and it highlights who's been on the show, who's coming on the show, and of course, her blog post about the show we just did. And she always gains great insight. I enjoy reading that because it's always like, where was I when that was happening? I missed that. No. Let's see. That's about it. Jackie, are you ready to go? Are you ready?
I am
the show?
ready.
Today's guest is your guest, so that means you have the introductions.
I do, and I am delighted to say that I have known Edie for a short period of time, but it has been a journey that we've had together, and I'm excited to have her on the show today. So Edie Raether is her name, and she's an international keynote speaker, a best-selling author, and a parenting coach. She has integrated over 40 years of experience in human potential development, motivation, and behavioral psychology into a revolutionary character building program called I Believe I Can Fly. She's vibrant and world renowned, and Edie has empowered thousands of organizations, including Fortune 500 companies such as SC Johnson, IBM, Oscar Mayer, Nationwide, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Corning, General Motors. I could go on and on. Edie has turned around some of New York City's most at-risk kids by creating caring cultures to give children hope. She is a resource for all major media outlets such as the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, Parents, NBC Incorporated, and Reuters. Edie's got 7 books, including Stop Bullying Now and Winning, How Winners Think, What Champions Do. And her books have been translated into numerous languages. She's also a CSP certified speaking professional, which is the highest earned designated award by the National Speakers Association. Edie's got a TED Talk titled Brain Fitness for Kids, Cloning the DNA of Einstein. And it's for any parent who wants to raise a remarkable child, one who can perform like Mozart, score like Michael Jordan, and become unstoppable like Oprah Winfrey. Those are some big shoes to fill. And welcome, Edie, to Life Mastery Radio. It's delightful to have you here.
You know what, Jackie, in all the introductions I have had, that is the best. That was really good. I appreciate that. I mean, I get some people that get up and you almost want to snooze, but no, I appreciate that. It's great to be with you all.
Or they don't have an introduction at all, right, Edie? And then you got to somehow pave the way for the audience to know who you are.
Right.
But you know what? When you're my age, you do get a kind of a long list of stuff you've done. You know, it just accumulates.
Well, that's quite a pedigree, though. I mean, that's quite an accomplishment. You've been speaking since the 80s, right?
70s, about 1970. Yep.
Wow.
So, Edie, of all the things that you've done and all of these skills and accomplishments and talents that you have, what really excites you? What drives you?
At this point in my life, or generally? Yeah. I have to admit, I'm putting together a corporate program on transforming toxic cultures into caring communities. Motivational keynotes. I'm a cheerleader at heart. But I like the live stage, and so much of that has transformed as well. But my real passion project is my children's empowering character building program that literally wires kids for health, happiness, and success. And the reason for that, Jackie and Todd, is because I've always been about prevention. I have a healthcare background, occupational therapist, psychotherapist, brain trainer, all that. And, you know, prevention is the only thing that makes sense. You know, we're always putting a Band-Aid on, you know, getting what color pacemaker do you want? Well, if we exercised and ate the right foods in the first place, you wouldn't have to make that choice of what pretty colored pacemaker you want. So what I like about the kids program is that it literally will change the way the world thinks one child at a time, even if they're in a very toxic home environment. So I guess the way I'm almost 80 and, but I water ski, I snow ski, I do a lot of stuff that 20-year-olds don't do, but I just had to get that in there. But I guess the way I feel I can really leave a legacy is with the kids program, because it's so powerful. I've had parents say they've played one 5-minute audio track one time and they saw a dramatic change in their child's confidence and self-esteem. So that's pretty powerful. But everything I believe in right now is really, I engage the subconscious mind, and I like to call it the superconscious mind, because sub feels like not as good as. And, you know, as I mentioned in the TED Talk, and I'm sure you've watched it, have you, Jackie?
Yes, I have.
Is that, and this is now a fact, you know, this is the interesting thing. What I've been doing for over 50 years, and what I talk about in the TED Talk is what I've been doing with adults all my life. But what I have been doing, because it simply worked, the hypnosis, the brain training, rewiring your brain, whether it's anxiety, depression, weight, smoking, drugs, anything, any habit, addiction, it just simply worked. So I did it. And now we hear about neuroscience, neuroplasticity, and guess what? It's all finally getting proven. So I kind of feel like science is finally catching up with me. And
I see that all the time.
Because I did it just because why not? 85% of the people, for example, that I hypnotized for smoking, they quit one time, one and done. Anxiety. My doctor referred somebody who was on, I think, 5 different anti-anxiety drugs. I personally not into drugs unless it's absolutely necessary. And 2 sessions, and she's free of all the medications that have horrible side effects. But my irritation, you guys, is that That's about the only referral I've ever gotten from a physician. And I'll be honest, I'm angry with a lot of the medical model. And even though I grew up in it as an OT and all that good stuff, I'm telling you, why are they not referring? Because one of my mothers that came in for smoking, her son died as a side effect of Chantix. They will write a prescription for that. The worst that can happen with hypnosis or engaging the subconscious mind to make any change you want, the worst is you learn to be mindful and you learn how to relax and be stress-free. Is that a negative side effect? So there's so many people that are looked at as resources and they're not tapping into those that are
Edie, I was watching the show. It's a really cool show last night. It's on Amazon Prime. It's called Heal. And all the greats were part of this show and being interviewed. But this one guy says, modern medicine is full of miracles. And if I'm in an auto accident or I get hurt falling off a cliff or something like that, I definitely want to go see a surgeon. But if there's something else ailing my body, I'm going to go to a naturopath or I'm going to look for a natural holistic healing method before I go to a doctor and get prescribed pills. And I was just like, wow, that is a great description of, because modern medicine, there are a lot of miracles going on and they do a wonderful service. But I think, like you said, the ancients knew a lot more about internal healing, the subconscious, programming our minds to be more positive and not so negative, and just the healing, the power our bodies have to heal themselves.
Well, and Todd, you said right in the beginning, and I loved it, it's a great day because I choose to make it that way. And I immediately thought of, I was at a conference. It was the first time I went over hot coals with Tony Robbins back in the 80s. Tony was 27 years old. Our birthdays are basically 24 hours apart, but a few years between. And I remember a person went up to him after and said, "I'm depressed." And I remember Tony Robbins said, "Why do you choose to make that happen?" And I just thought, that was so good because it put responsibility back on the person to say, wait a minute, this is a conscious choice. And when you said that, I also, my brain is like popcorn. I thought of a ton of different things, but one is in the book Winning that Jackie referred to, where I interviewed people like Tony Robbins and John Azaraf and Jack Canfield and so forth, Oprah. But anyway, a guy locally, his name is Jeffrey Gitomer, and he wrote the Little Red Book of Selling. He's got a couple of bestsellers. He lives here in Charlotte. But I remember he said, and I love this, he said, "I've been broke, but I've never been down." And so we have to realize that we cannot let our circumstances determine our thought patterns and our well-being. Let me just, I want to add to that. I have a new, not a TED, it's going to be a TED Talk. I have a new keynote and it's unstoppable. If you can't walk, run. Yep. And it's turning obstacles into opportunities. I just did it for the Chamber and I just did it for the Rotary because actually I have to do a talk 100 times before I really feel like I have the masterpiece.
Of course.
Yeah. So listen to this. I was doing well. I'm going to just tell you my story, and I presented in this talk. I was a single parent living in Wisconsin, Green Bay, a good part of the time. Very successful therapy practice, too many hours a day. 100 gigs, paying gigs a year for, corporate 500 companies. So they were paying well. I made a lot of money as a single parent, millions. And I came to North Carolina and the good old boys saw me coming. And a lot of people my age, I think, are inverse paranoids. We think everybody's following us around and out to help us and do us well. I trust everyone. I was just in court last week because I trusted somebody, gave them a bunch of money, denies. So bottom line is I lost every dime I made, 4 to 5 million. That's a lot. I went from a house that was on Home and Garden channel. What is that? HGTV. I went from that to a rusted out FEMA trailer, the last 5 feet, the rest was storage. No running water, no no electricity, no flushing toilets, nothing. Totally homeless from what they called a mansion. It was a big Mediterranean villa on the water. And I went to this FEMA trailer. But you know what? I never once doubted I was going to make it happen. I'm now on a bigger lake where I can swim. The other one was more like Golden Pond. I never had a doubt, because if you have a doubt, it's like a cancer. And I would walk the causeway every day and visualize. I didn't know how. I didn't know. I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know how it was going to come. But I visualize, I pray, I do all that stuff. And most of you are giving up too soon. I went 15 months with no clue, but I am addicted to this spot on the earth. I have Airbnbs here, so if you want to come and join me, I'll give you a free therapy session. But you know what happened? After 15 months, I'm going to tell you how I bought a house that I was now offered $2 million for. That's from a FEMA trailer just a few years ago. Let me tell you how I bought the house. And that's why I'm going to emphasize with people. Be creative, be resourceful. But if you're going to go downward because something happened to you and you're not going to stay in a mind state that keeps moving forward. But I bet you never thought of this. My son had a friend with a perfect credit score, 850, I believe. We, within 24 hours, got about a dozen business credit cards on my LLC. I bought what is now a $2 million house. I bought it on credit cards.
Oh.
Bet you never thought of that. And before the interest was due, I got a HELOC. The HELOC paid off the credit cards. I never paid a dime in interest. Put in some Airbnbs, and I'm flying.
Bada boom, bada bang. That's the power of.
I wanted to share that so that people who get in the valley know that if you don't quit and you don't go to plan B, because there is no plan B, you just keep focused. An obstacle is something that you see only when you take your eyes off the goal. Okay, enough said. You guys can talk.
Well, Edie, what I get from that is you don't have to sometimes the plan is just getting up every day and having a positive mindset. Maybe you don't even know, like you said, how you're going to make it out of this hole that you're in. But the plan is just to keep moving every day and keep working towards something, right?
You know what else, Jackie? What's interesting is my best friend said, "Oh my God, you're such an inspiration. Nobody could do that for a day." And literally, I had a refrigerator outside. I had electric cords going to the neighbors, whatever. And I would heat water in an electric fry pan and put it in one of those. Fortunately, I'm not real big. In those Rubbermaid tubs where you store Christmas decorations. That was my bathtub.
Wow.
But you know what? This is the interesting thing. I wasn't unhappy.
No.
You know what? That's when I wrote my 7 books. You know what? I thought everything was in storage. It was hard to do the stuff for speaking. And I thought, you know what? I have thoughts and I have a computer. I could plug it in with extension cords. And I wrote 7 books. So my point is grow where you're planted. I didn't have access to a house.
And great things come out of challenges.
Exactly. And you know what else I think it is, Todd? I was living life. I mean, there's a part of me that was happier then, I'll have to tell you, because I was living life on purpose. And you know what? I am a water person. I had my view. I don't need a mansion by the lake. I just need the lake. If it's a tent, I'm looking at it now. I'm happy.
I'm with you there.
You know what? So you got to know what you want, what you value, what is your reason for being. And you know what? The rest kind of doesn't matter, and it will come. It'll come around. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Well, and the subconscious is constantly moving us forward. So something else I heard in this movie just blew me away, but they were talking about testing drugs, right? And they would have to give 100 people this drug to see if this drug helped their ailment. But in order to do that too, they also had to give 100 people a placebo to see what had happened. And what they were looking for is the results of 75 to 80% better cure. I'll just say a cure rate, right? That's what they had to go by in order to see how this drug worked. But yet the people they were giving the placebo to also had a turnaround of 75 to 80%. It was just like the power of the mind. It has amazing ability.
You know, what the mind sees, the body believes. And that's the language of the body. The body, if you just have a thought, that's why I say goal setting. It's not bad, but it's only the seed of the reality that we create. It's too abstract. The body doesn't get the message, and if goal setting worked, if goal setting alone worked, you wouldn't have the same New Year's resolution year after year after year. And yet most of you do, whether it's losing weight, isn't that true? What you have, and that's why I emphasize so much, creative visualization, mental imagery. And then the most important part, we know that we have to see it in the positive as in the past, as though the work has already been done. And we have to activate all the senses. But the most important sense is to feel it. If you want to be a speaker, feel yourself on the stage, hear the applause, make it so much a reality, because what the mind sees, the body believes. And once the pictures in your mind are crystallized, you cannot stop it. You cannot keep it from happening.
It's always working.
Yeah. And, the other thing is weight. I'm hypothyroid. So when people say, I'm hypothyroid, this, that. No, I'm hypothyroid and I'm pretty much the exact weight I should be. But I was a binger in college. I mean, I did a sorority house where they had these refrigerators that were the size of like big restaurant rooms. And I'd go in there before my anatomy exam. I mean, it was sick. And when I started hypnotizing others, I got the message. It's so bad now. This, I got to tell you, one of the messages in my hypnosis for weight script is that you only take a bit, a piece, a taste to satisfy your curiosity. I have a bowl of M&Ms on the coffee table. I only take a bit of the M&M. I'm not lying. The other day, I, by accident, put the whole M&M in my mouth, and I couldn't eat one entire M&M. I ate the other half later, but one bit and a piece of that M&M is all I can eat. So once you program your mind, it's amazing how God and the universe just tend to give to you.
Wow. Well, that's a great segue then into what you're doing with the kids. You told us that's your passion. That's what you really want to leave a legacy about. So you've got this program that is, I Believe I Can Fly, and it's a storybook. There you go, about these characters that climb a mountain together out of curiosity and magic. They're hoping to find some magic, but it's not just a storybook, but there's music that goes along with it.
Yeah,
right? Tell us about it, Edie.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, because honest to God, this thing is so powerful. I went to a school and they're like, our teachers can't take on one more thing. And I'm thinking, all they have to do is press play and the kids will calm down. And if they're, on the autism spectrum, if they have ADHD, this is going to help. And I'm thinking, you don't have to do anything. This is, it does it all for you. But anyway, Jackie is right. So there's these 5 characters. And so I took all of the social challenges of the world. I'll just open one page. And Penelope is PO'd at the world. And you might have a child that came into this world with a chip on their shoulder. I meet parents that do. But she puts her pines down and becomes as loving as Ruckus the rabbit. So if you have a kid that's kind of aggressive, they should be more like Ruckus the rabbit, because Ruckus shares her food and her pears and her fruits with other kids. And she finds out that as she gives love to others, they give it back. And Penelope learned. But then we have Ollie the owl. And Ollie does exercises. We have childhood obesity. So I am wiring kids to get out there and move those bodies. I tried to get through to Michelle Obama with her Let's Move program. But you know what else about Ollie? Ollie doesn't drink soda pop. It's one of the worst things you can do. I won't touch it. But it's amazing. I'll check out in a grocery store and see little kids taking, these 3-liter bottles out. But Ollie only eats fruits and vegetables. And then we have Gustav the goat. And Gustav is brave and courageous. So if you have a shy kid, you keep playing the audio that has them visualizing being more like Gustav. So what the book basically does is serve as an anchor. Because if you say to a child, be courageous, it's too abstract. They don't read.
Right.
They don't know how.
So if you say, be like Penelope or be like Gustav, and then, we got to see the star of the program, And that is Caleb the Caterpillar. And listen, they all climb Magic Mountain. They are so ticked off when they get there because there's nothing there but a little old lady. And you know what they do? They look in the mirror. Oh my gosh. And they discover that all the magic is within them. And Caleb the Caterpillar then turns into the butterfly. So it tells every child that they have the ability to transform. And Caleb, with his little 16 legs, climbed Magic Mountain. Persistence. You know that kids have the attention span of an ant these days. So, we are losing out on discipline and persistence. So what's good about Caleb, with his 16 little legs, he climbs Magic Mountain. So then when you do the audio, the beautiful. So then when you do the audio, it's all mental imagery and visualization. So I am having them get into a relaxed body mind state where your mind is more open, more receptive. It's like a sponge. And then I pour in all these messages to be kind. If you have a bullying kid, be kind like Ruckus, or be brave like Gustav. And then the blanket. So I'm not going to take it out here, but there is a complete blanket with all the characters. Now, many of you have heard of Tony Robbins. He kind of made NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, popular. And that is all, it goes back to, what's his name? The Pavlov's dog, the whole power of association. And that's really what NLP, as far as I'm concerned, is pretty much based on. So I make a suggestion in the audios that when they wrap themselves in this blanket, the program is basically children 3 to 9. I started it with my kids when I was pregnant. They've done very well. You can never start too soon. So anyway, they wrap themselves in the blanket, and I make the suggestion that when they wrap themselves in the blanket, they have a flash of their greatness. Now, here's the thing. When I wrote, and this is the bestseller in China, Why Cats Don't Bark, it's on your soul's code and calling. What I found out is that we all come into this world with a special calling in life. When I then wrote Winnie and have interviews with Oprah and all these, they all had a flash of their greatness between the ages of 3 and 9. And I thought, oh my God, the people that live and die and never sing their song because they die with the music in them. And so that's why I created the program, because if your child doesn't have that flash of greatness, Oprah Winfrey, 5 years old, looked at the TV and said, I can do that. Carol Burnett knew she was going to do what she did. Almost every person of greatness had a flash of it between 3 and 9. And so when you put yourself on the blanket, you are getting a flash of your greatness, because it is in your subconscious. But if you don't make it conscious, you'll live and die and never sing your song. So that's all the components. And then there's guidelines. I actually did it for grandparents, thinking it's a way that grandparents can leave a legacy. And if you're in New York and they're in California, you can do a Zoom call every week where you facilitate their growth. But it's cool. It's the best thing I've ever done. It really is.
Tell us some more testimonials. How long has this program been out?
I created it about 10 years ago, Todd. And you know what? The saddest thing is, it's been the hardest thing for me to market. You know how much it costs? The price of a sweatshirt, a college sweatshirt, $40, $39.95 for the audio, the guidelines, the blanket, the book, everything. And it bothers me that people will pay $80 to have their nails done, and they won't pay $40 for a program that literally, and I guarantee it, that it'll wire their kids' health, happiness, and success. And I don't get it. Anything else I've done has been much easier. So I'm looking maybe for a grant from the Kellogg Foundation, or maybe some churches. I talked to somebody at Dolly Parton's, LeBron James. I'm looking for an endorsement. If anybody listening has an endorsement with a celebrity, because we associate celebrities with what we want. And so that is my, I'm almost 80, so I've got to take a shortcut, and I don't have time to send out one at a time. I will. it breaks my heart because it's so powerful. And so I don't understand. I don't understand it. So hopefully this show, who knows? It just takes one person listening today that could make a difference.
That's right. So go and check out Edie's website. So tell them, where can they find out more about that?
You know where they can go. I have several websites, and I know we're condensing it to one, but Wings for Wishes, like Eagle's Wings for Wishes.com. And the second video down, I believe, is the one that's Brain Fitness for Kids. It'll say TED in the background. I encourage everybody to watch it and know that everything in the TED Talk is what I've done with adults. I simply put Brain Fitness for Kids because I wanted to use the TED Talk as a marketing tool. But watch, just the TED Talk's good. It is. If it's not worth your time, let me know and I'll pay you for every minute you watched it. And then, I was just going to say the bullying, because I've worked a lot with teens and I don't know what it is. I do extremely well with male teens. It's almost, I don't know what it is. I don't know, but I do know that every doctor, every pediatrician in Green Bay referred to me because it was almost like I did magic with them. So my bullying book is also important, but I want people to know, if you're a teacher or you are on a PTO board or whatever, I do have a one-day in-service training program on bullying, and you do get CEUs, teachers get their continuing education credits for it. So I want everybody to be aware of that as well. Now, I just got to tell you one other thing since we're on the books. This one, if you're on Match.com, Sex for the Soul, I do relationship counseling. And, it's really funny. I wrote this book, and when I did, I stopped looking for men. I lived through the book. And I do sales training, and this one is for Get Selling, and it's on it's influence and persuasion in sales, leadership, and life. And really, as a parent, all of us need to be forces of influence to make change happen, no matter what we do. On this program, we need to do that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's all my little plugs. And then my speaking site is edierather.com, EDIERAETHER.com. And you know what? If you're a school and you're not a big corporation, I do have rates for groups that kind of meet my heart, so to speak. So don't be hesitant. And then and the other thing I do on Zoom, I do coach and I do hypnosis and brain training through Zoom. So I've got clients in Germany, California, whatever. And that site is braintrainer.expert. And I actually have a site, Stop Bullying with Edie, but I haven't looked at it in 10 years. I think it's still up. Anyway, and if you want to have a retreat here, I've got 3 Airbnbs, kayaks. Come on here, have a weekend retreat. I'd love to have you.
Nice.
So what are your typical party sizes?
Oh, I don't have parties here. This is a couple's
No,
getaway.
I mean not a party. I mean a group.
To come here at the getaway?
Yeah. How many? So
I have 2 one-bedroom apartments where you can probably do the pull-out. And then I have a 2-bedroom upstairs where you can have up to 4. So I have had churches and executive retreats here. And then some people, that teach people how to write or market, they will come here and they will sit out on the dock or whatever and then have their break on a kayak.
So I would say an intimate group of 8 is what you can
I can hold about 12, 10, 12.
Well,
Yep.
I have to tell my girlfriend. My girlfriend is Coach Debbie, and she holds writing retreats, just like you described. So,
bitches, you know what? Oh my God. Okay, Todd. Oh, this is all happening for a reason. No, that I've had writing retreats here, and I can't think. I think this is where I wrote 7 books, and I will tell you, my daughter-in-law is a Reiki master. She said there is so much healing energy on the premise that when she was out on the dock, she came into the house to meditate because the healing energy was that strong.
Oh.
And you know what? I bought the place with no intentions of moving. I built my dream house back in Raleigh. I was here for 3.5 seconds and I said, oh my God, this will work. I'm putting in an offer. I want it closed by noon tomorrow. There were 3 offers for 100 grand more, and that was 20 years ago, not this market.
Right.
Anyway, the bottom line is I'm thinking, I'm the kind of person when I'm buying oranges, I lift 5 bags because I got to make sure I got that extra ounce because I'm paying $3. And then I'm paying over $500,000 for dirt. And I'm like, I want it. I want it now. I want it closed by noon. No, I didn't know a thing about the properties here. And I'm like, what did I do? No regrets, but what did I do? And I think there was something with the healing energies I connected with. And I think that that's the only thing that makes sense to me. So if any of you are the writer retreats, the healing arts, any of that kind of stuff, I can't think of a better place. It's an island.
I'll tell it.
Island.
I'll tell it.
So we're good. So what do we talk about next? We want to talk about the subconscious. Do we want to talk about what do we do?
Well, what are your views, Edie, about what ails society today? We have so much going on in our world and so many directions, and people really are, I don't want to give energy to it, but people are kind of suffering, and we're just coming out of COVID. So give us your thoughts and ideas of what is it that is holding people back?
Wow. I'm so glad you asked that, Todd, because I have a lot to say about that. I am seriously concerned because I've talked a lot about wiring kids for health, happiness, and success. Our society is getting rewired by the internet, by our devices. And COVID, I am really concerned because I've worked with a lot of veterans and people with PTSD, rape, whatever. And I think we are going to have a bumper crop of people, kids, everybody with PTSD. Think of COVID. I have had guests here and they freak out. Did somebody touch this doorknob? This. Now think of a 5-year-old child that has a mother that is running around with handy wipes. I have somebody very close to me where, if we went outside to get something in the car, we had to completely sanitize ourselves. So living in that fear and anxiety, we have overactive amygdalas. We're hyper vigilant. We're super alert. And that is putting us in a chronic state of stress and anxiety. And I think it's going to kill us. I think it's creating an internal toxicity, and there's going to be no trust. There's a young child needs to know that the world is a safe place.
Yeah. And full of creativity, right? Because all that stress blocks our creativity. I mean, it's just holding us back.
Exactly. So then we're looking at society. If we don't have creativity to deal with the social challenges or even inventing things like the light bulb or what Mozart and Beethoven did, we're not going to have those kind of gifts. You are so right. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it because it scares the heck out of me. And I guess the other thing is, like I said, the kids program. I can't believe your nails are more important than I give a guarantee. When you have your nails done, they don't guarantee them. and so our priorities, I think, have shifted where there's almost, if you look at some of the halftime shows, it's too much sex. I'm not anti, but there were advertisements for, was it Hardee's? Or I don't want to mention anyone, but it was one of them. And just the way they ate the hamburger, it was so sensual. Come on. It's a hamburger. It's a hamburger. And you probably shouldn't be eating that much beef anyhow. But let's not make it a bedroom scene. You know what I mean? I have to admit, I watched The Bachelor, but it's not the same. It was really good at one time, but now it's just so, you know what I mean? They just, and so everything is so, we're losing our core values, I think, and it's very scary to me. And it's true that our devices, it's reducing our attention span, our persistence. And if we don't persist on something, we don't meet our goals. People give up quicker. And you know what?
I think too, Edie, what do you think? I think that we're losing sight of morals, principles, and values. They are going out the window. And without those basics, how do you know right from wrong?
You know what? No moral compass. I was just in court last week with a handyman who said he was going to go after the guy who owed me $60,000 in rent. So he was going to do $5,000, but everything had to be hush hush. There could be no trail. Stupid me. I'm sucking up to this con and give him the money, no receipt. And I knew it was going to be hard in court. So I'm not going to get my money back, but I'm going to do what I can to get some justice on this. But listen to this. He said, I wanted him to kill someone. If you know anything about me, I mean, the whole kids program is about compassion. There's no one that knows me that would ever, everything he said under oath, swearing in with the Bible, was just, he said I was a nutcake and nutcase. And the judge, the magistrate was buying it because a good con. Obviously he's convincing because I gave him my money, but you're so right. You know, swearing in court, it's a joke now. So how do we have any civilization when there can be no trust? My parents had a car dealership, and I think that's why I am so trusting. They would sell all these cars and rarely had a problem. And it was a handshake. Mm-hmm. It was mark my word. And if you put your word on it, it was good as God. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, Edie, that going along with what you're saying, I mean, you've written a book on stop bullying now for kids, but we can only help kids so much when the adults are the biggest bullies on the planet. I mean, when you think about the political division and the ideological divisions that we have right now in just our country, I'm sure it's worldwide, you can't say what you really feel anymore without being ostracized, without being kicked out of the herd. And it's so it's wrong, and it's demoralizing to so many people. And so here we are trying to teach our kids how to not be bullies when we perhaps are the biggest bullies.
You know what? I'm on Nextdoor. Are you guys familiar with Nextdoor? It's a chat thing where, hey, do you have a good electrician? But somebody just put on, that their kid's car was spray painted. Was that on this call that I mentioned that earlier? It was spray painted with white paint.
Yeah.
And so people are like, but then they get into, people are awful. And then I'll say, no, some people are awful, but we have to still maintain a positive attitude to be creative and move this thing forward, or we're all going to go down the tube. But no, you're right about, you would not believe somebody will make a statement, and if somebody doesn't like it, they just jump on them, call them names. And then I feel like I'm the peacemaker on Nextdoor that says, wait a minute, really, did you mean to say that to her? She was only expressing an opinion. And then there's this avalanche where people are like, this isn't a political statement. Can I just say this without everybody jumping on me?
Right.
And so, but you know what it is? Everybody's on the defensive. The anxiety is putting people in this state where they're hyper alert. But I talk a lot about the amygdala, which is just, it's trying to keep us safe. It's an instinctual thing that it's survival. And we're in a survival mode. We're not in a creative mode, as you were saying, Todd. And it is concerning. So I think all of us on this call have to be vigilant about not being super vigilant to the point that we are letting our instinctual brain take over and losing our executive functions of decision making and making conscious choices that are healthy and move us forward. Does that make sense?
It does. And the reason that I wanted to bring that out is because in that book, you have some identifying questions that help us decide, are we a bully by the things that we do? And I know that you designed it perhaps for kids and for teenagers, but there's so much in that book that we all need to read right now.
You're absolutely right. And I even have the bullying book, they're all different. It's like having a dozen different kids. But I can honestly say, somebody said it's the best book out there on bullying, and I honestly feel it is, because it's a complete handbook. I doubled the size when I spoke for the YMCA. I was going to add one chapter, and I doubled it. But there's something for parents. There's something for the person who is bullied and the person who does bully. There's something on teachers, how they can do role playing in the classroom. It covers literally everything. But you know what, Jackie, you said something. And, you know, whenever I see these things on Nextdoor, like smashing paint cans on the driveway and, you know, robbing, whatever, where are the parents? My parents would have I didn't even challenge it. I was actually a pretty good kid because I wasn't going to challenge what was going to happen. Mm-hmm. And so many parents now, helicopter parents, when I gave that talk to the Rotary, I just said it, and I'm in a wealthy area, and they're sometimes the worst. You know, just because you can give your kid a Rolls Royce doesn't mean you do that when they're flunking out of school. Whatever happened to earning it? And I'm going to tell you, one of the things that everybody in Winning had in common, Jack Canfield is from the mountains of West Virginia. His mother was an alcoholic. But one thing all the winners had in common was that they had a challenge. Let me tell you, Richard Branson, I just got an email from him right before that talk. This is interesting. He's a dropout, as many of them are, and I'm not encouraging that we drop out of school, but okay. But he knew how to do things. But I remember I put it in this book. Branson's mother, when he was like 5, 6, 7 years old, took him miles from home and said, you find your way back. Now, I have to agree, today is a different world. I'm not suggesting anybody do that. But the point is, the reason Richard Branson has been so successful is because he had a mother that didn't give him the fish, but taught him how to fish by challenging him to be creative, to problem solve, and find his way home. And now you know the rest of the story. Now you got me going. You got me going, guys. Okay. One more thing.
I do want to say, Edie, we only have about 4 minutes left. And thank you so much for showing up. Can I just throw one
little thing more?
And I was just going to ask you, is there one last parting message that you have?
Jackie, well, this shouldn't probably be the last, but years ago I was in the airport. And I saw a 5-year-old kid. Back in the days, remember when you would drive places? It was good talk time. It was bonding time. Right. Now everybody's in their devices. We were going through the Rocky Mountains. My grandkids are in their devices. If I were seeing the Rocky Mountains at 8 years old for the first time, I'd be looking for deer and, you know what I mean? And nature has such a way of nurturing us. And I was in the airport, and this kid, I could tell he was starving for his mother just to talk to him. And she was on her device and would tap his knee as a consolation prize every couple minutes. Breaks my heart. Yeah. So, you know, and so we know the challenges. We've covered them today. And what I'm going to say as my last words are, you know, we've got challenges here, but everybody on this call can be a spirit of hope in making a difference and being a person of influence to speak up and make a difference. We all have that power.
Yeah.
Don't we?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, we do. You go, Edie.
I loved it. And thanks to all of you who have been on the call, and feel free to contact me. My number is 704-658-8997. Email is just Edie@Raether.com, not rather, Raether.
Nice.
Don't phone home, phone Edie.
Yes, this has been so much fun. I knew it would be.
Very cool. And we thank you guys. Thank you so much for showing up as you, like I said before, because you know, this is how we make a difference. If we made the difference in one person's life today, Edie, then we did our job. And you know what? It all comes down to conscious choice. Mm-hmm. All about choice. Somebody else I know says that. You got it. And I choose to be happy. You know, thank you again. That is so cool. Jackie, any takeaways? Today was a fun show. Good job pulling this guest. Yeah. Edie's we'll do it again. We'll do it again. Catchy. We've got so much more to cover. We'll do it again. Take care. Yes. Thank you, Edie. You are definitely a resource for so many things. And we could talk about 3 or 4 other books without
running out of time. So
there's a lot of wisdom in those locks.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate. You well, everybody take care.
That's about all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed the show, and please tell a friend. Don't telephone Edie. Tell a friend first, then telephone Edie about what a great show Life Mastery Radio is. Sign up for our newsletter, check out our website, check out Edie's website. Lastly, please make it a great day, because as you heard here today, it is all about choice. Bye-bye for now.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to Life Mastery Radio. Join Todd Allen and Jackie Bailey and their guests of leading authors, speakers, coaches, and entrepreneurs weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific. Learn to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery through stories and messages to support your well-being and most evocative dreams. Visit their website, www.lifemasteryradio.com. Join their mailing list and be notified about upcoming guests. That's lifemasteryradio.com.